Welcome to the iNetrepreneur Radio Show. We are so honored to bring you your host, the ultimate celebritypreneur, connecting businesses and celebrities worldwide. Winner of the Networking Organization of the Year, best-selling author, magazine publisher, trainer, and owner and founder of Network Together and the iNetrepreneur Media Network from magazines, TV, and radio network. We're excited to bring you your host, Mr. Robert W. Jones.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to the iNetrepreneur Network radio show. And yes, I am Robert W. Jones, not Robert Wesley Jones, not Robert Will Jones, not Robert Wanna Be Here Jones, Robert Wesley Jones. And I'm glad that you're here with us today. We happen to be here each week, 2:30 to 3:30. Arizona time, which we're aligned with California this time of year. I'm really excited because I have three great guests today, and each one of them I could probably do a 3-hour show with, but our segments are going to be about 16 seconds. So they may get 2 or 3 words in edgewise when, dealing with me on the show, but no, I'll give them a few more words than that. But, I am so excited of what we have coming up on January 28th. We have the Unchain Yourself Professional Women's Conference coming to Gilbert, Arizona. The Unchain Yourself Professional Women's Conference is for women who want plain speaking, authentic, hard earned perspectives that offer timely, tactical, and tangible advice for women, to help solve the greatest challenges that they have as women entrepreneurs. At the event, there will be speakers, there will be panels, there will be breakthroughs, there will be networking all throughout the day. And I really want it's a beacon to all women to come to this, and a few good men as well. So if you'd like to come to that, please do. I can give more information in there, or you can go to Eventbrite and put Unchain Yourself Professional Women's Conference and sign up there. Again, it's July 28th. It's from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's only $20 to get this many women into a room, to get the professionals that we'll have there, and we're going to solve all the problems that women entrepreneurs have so we can make them champions. Please come to this day. I'm supporting my wonderful, beautiful wife and CEO, Sean Jones, in this beautiful, wonderful event coming up on July 28th. Also, I want to remind everyone that to reserve a date in our third Art of Connection book. It's called Art of Connection, 365 Days of Transformational Quotes. Gosh, we are running out of pages. I'm telling you, we are running out of pages. There's only 365 days in the year in 2023. And you know what? We only got about 100 pages left. So the book's coming out in December. So if you want to take a great opportunity, become an international best-selling author, a book that's in the Library of Congress, get that credibility, be a part of this book, or even make it a bridge book. Maybe you're an author and you want some, you want some PR, you want some publicity, you want Amazon to see and give you love again. Please be a part of this book. The Art of Connection, 365 Days of Transformational Quotes. And believe me, after the last 2.5, 3 years, boy, we need a lot of transformation. And I think a lot of people are pulling those layers apart and they're coming to their greatness. Also, I want to remind everyone that at ntevents.net, you can find our networking meetings, academy classes, our summits, our events, trainings, et cetera, so much more. We put on over 1,000 of these things every year. Thank goodness I have a wife who's very operational, because there's no way I could handle all that. Plus, like us on Facebook, subscribe to our magazine, and if no further ado, I want to bring in my first guest. She is the international speaker. She is a speaker on credibility and influence, PR, promotions, public relations. She's a best-selling author 4 times. 4 times. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm so excited that I have Jill Lublin here today with me. How are you, Jill?
I'm doing phenomenal, Robert. Always a joy to be with you.
It is always a joy to be with you too, Jill. I mean, there is so much that you gift in knowledge to other people. I just really want to thank you so much for that. You really are tireless. And you're like, and I've said this to you so many times, when we get to talk in our own personal conversations on the phone, you are everyone's best kept secret in certain ways. And I say that because for as much as you do when you get up on stage or when you get before a mic and you're in front of the audience, you give so many great vessels of advice, but it's those private conversations. If people get to work with you on that intimate level, that's where your real magic comes in. And so, if you're looking for someone to really level up, how you're seen in the marketplace, Jill Lublin is the one that you need to see. And speaking of that, Jill, before we came on today, I wanted to start with something I think that matters more now than 3 years ago, 10 years ago, or even 25 years ago. Each and every one of us is inundated with so much data and so much information and just so much chatter. I mean, it really is hard, for an entrepreneur or business to get their message clear, isn't it?
Not in my world, Robert. So here's the thing.
Yes.
Reality has it that you're absolutely right. There's a lot going on. So the question is, how will you break through the noise? Well, by having a clear message that's focused, that's concise, that's precise, that nails it, and that invites people to be part of your world. And I find that most people just kind of go on and on. They're kind of wavering and wandering and meandering, and then we lose interest. So delivered messages that are powerful, short, and focused is really the way to go right now.
But one of the things that you also say is when you're delivering a message, you call it like the ooh ah effect. And I think that's really important because it's something that I always remember in my mind. I always think going into anywhere, what is my goal? And, what is the action that I want the audience to have? And then, kind of see what type of feedback I get from that as well. But you have this wonderful magic called the ooh ah effect. What is that, Jill? Tell our audience what that means.
Oh, I love the ooh ah factor. And that is, it relates to actually using everything you've got. I find,
Mhm.
Robert, that most people miss some of the most obvious things they could be using, like your ethnicity, your religion, being a woman, being a man. March 8th is International Women's Day. Are you doing publicity for that? Or a woman who was recently in my publicity boot camp, she is Filipino. I said, I want you out for hashtag Stop Asian Hate. She was actually there to grow her digital marketing presence. Well, that's great. Yes. And by using hashtag Stop Asian Hate, you know what happened? She actually got featured in the top 30 under 30 Filipino businesses. Woo woo.
Oh, woot. Yes.
Tons of speaking engagements. And guess what? Her digital marketing business grew because she used everything she's got. And I think this is the part that many of you miss, your ooh, ah factor, that part of you that's unique, unusual, could be the way into the media. And then once you're in, here's the good news, you control your message.
And you're so absolutely right. And by controlling your message, you allow people to, like, I would say, even label you in a good way. Because, I could say, well, Jill Lublin, oh, she is PR, she's promotions. I'm attaching things to her. So each time I hear her, I can refer her, or I can advocate for her, or I can utilize her. I mean, labeling's not a bad thing, is it, Jill?
Labeling so that you're in your lane,
Hmm.
yes. And I want people's mind to expand a little bit here, that, for instance, you could get into media using other parts of who you are, good, bad, ugly, positive or negative, because that's might be celebrating something else. Like one of my clients is a coach with a son who's autistic. There is National Autism Month. That's what she gets into, talking about that. How powerful is that? It's all good, my friends, because then what happens is no matter where you are in the media, you're leading people back to your free gift, your opportunity to have influence and impact. And frankly, they're in your circle now. And that's what matters.
And it matters because it also creates a certain amount of credibility, a certain amount of energy, and a certain amount of bond. You're actually bonding yourself to the right lanes and the right communities, which actually help more people and communities become aware of you, right?
Absolutely. It's all about the I've heard of you somewhere syndrome. And however they hear of you, it's all good, isn't it? Like, us being here today together, beautiful. Like, whatever you're doing, it's about that consistency factor and taking an action weekly, in my opinion, to build your visibility and to build your credibility and to have people know who you are, because that's when they like, know, and trust you. And that's, well, you're the one they're going to choose to do business with.
And I, and you and I've talked about this before on the phone. It's like, your brain, everyone's brain is so unique, but, information stored in, kind of in one area, and then, emotions kind of stored in like a different area. And I always say, sometimes it's more important to be remembered than it is to be factual, because sometimes if you're not memorable and you kind of may have, if you're not there at the right time, you've trained your business to someone else, didn't you?
Yeah, exactly. And a little bit of, who's going to remember you by things you do. Like, for instance, I have this star that I use about helping people elevate their star. Well, funny enough, people remember this consistently. Oh, yeah, you're the woman with the star. Yes, that's because I helped make you a star and a celebrity in your lane, right? And I think that that's really a key, is you want to create, whether it's visuals, especially now, people love that, get the courage. Ooh, big lion. Get the courage to have some visuals, because that will make a difference.
I remember when I was managing a Chanel boutique in the Biltmore area, Phoenix, Arizona, and one of the things that made it memorable is, I had celebrities and athletes and CEOs and people come in all around the world, Jill. And what was really funny is there was a little magic in that when I had the owner of the only BMW dealership in all of the Philippines came up to me, and I asked her, "Why do you come here to to purchase your handbags when you could purchase it anywhere else in the world?" And she says, "Well, you know what? I can get great service at any Chanel, but what I remember about your store is you always make Otis Spunkmeyer cookies." And it was, and it didn't have to be that bad, that big. It wasn't like I was changing her tires or washing her car or delivering it personally. It was just, sometimes the littlest things, don't they make the biggest impact?
It is all the little things. It's funny, with guerrilla publicity, I was interviewing reporters, and one of the reporters said, well, food helps. Like, in other words, how do you be memorable? Yes, food. And I do handwritten notes to people. Right. They do
Oh,
memorable things that keep you top of mind, but also, in people's circle of, yeah, I got to use Jill for some of my publicity consulting, right? I want to be in Robert's book, and I want to join your community, because that's where connections happen. And I think that's really the key, is to be that solution provider, but then go a little bit of the extra
mhm.
mile. What will people remember about you? It could be your good heart, your nice smile. It can be, tangibles and intangibles, but certainly, good things that make a difference.
Well, I always say it's your good looks, Jill. Everyone has to hire you.
Okay,
Because they
sure,
want to
that'll
be
work.
by you, right? They want to be by you. But there's another word
Wait, Robert,
besides,
I need to stop you there, because
yeah, yeah.
you
Okay.
did hit on something, if I may, and that
Sure.
is what people respond to me about is my energy. I had a woman today.
Hmm.
She goes, "I love your energy," because I've been trained in media. Here is the truth. It's all about energy. And my
Yes.
friends, you're doing public relations every moment you open your mouth. So let's make it good, positive, powerful, connected, and impactful, so that you can grow your value, your contribution that you want in the world, right? But it is all about energy, media, meeting people, connecting, and then serving so that people remember you.
Well, and what's really interesting about that, Jill, is, so much of the time in our world, especially when it comes to larger businesses, they always talk about ROI, return on investment. But I myself say, what's more important to me is what I call return on energy. And it's like, if I put energy out there, energy will gift itself back to me. And part of having that energy, like what you have, part about being memorable is just creating a space of awareness. you know and I think that awareness is probably the most important thing that a person or a company could have, because everything else that follows that, comes from first knowing about it, right?
Yes. So true. So true. I mean, the reality is, in order to be known, you must be out there, right? People need to know your name, the credibility factor, the trust. Trust is very important in today's market, right? The accessibility, the exposure, and frankly, the sales and the prospects, which people need to know publicity leads to. That's the ROI part. Listen, I had a woman, she told me she got a 250-word article in her local Wisconsin small newspaper, and she got a $5,000 client. Yes, from
My
a
goodness.
250-word article, $5,000 client. This is what I know happens.
And you brought up the next part, and it's credibility, seeing you out there. And for the longest time, it seems like we've just become into this digital media, this web 2.0 world. And I tease my entrepreneurs a lot of the time, Jill. I said, how many people come off their social media, you've been posting years at a time, and they print it out and say, hey, I remember this post. Not very often, do they? And what I tell them, why do magazines, and even more importantly, why are books so timeless? Which they are. They stand the test of time. And I tell people, if you want to be credible, you can look at my office and you can see hundreds of books. And guess what? I save them, but I don't save all those social media posts.
And social media posts is like flash in the pan. I mean, publicity lasts forever. Books last forever. Whether you read them digitally or not, it's still a forever impression. And that bringing it into your clients, your prospects, passing it on and going, hey, look, I was featured in, this podcast or wherever else you are. It all counts and it matters a lot.
And I always tease people. I say, well, the one thing is you can reach back and put a book up and show the credibility, and it sure looks a lot better than a postcard, or or a business card. I mean, it really does matter. And I think, but I wanted to get this from you because I don't have any facts and figures, but I really think certain forms of traditional media, they stand a better test of time in trust, a better test of time in credibility, and they certainly exert a different amount of influence than some of the other media-oriented ways. Would you agree with that?
Oh, big time, big time. And you know what's so wonderful about our world today is that your media opportunities have actually doubled, maybe even tripled, but we'll go with doubled for a minute, because not only do you have the traditional media, now you have the websites and you're up on that and all their archives, plus all the podcasts and blogs. You have all of that and the multiplication factor of that. And your own ability, by the way, to do Facebook Lives, Instagram Lives, LinkedIn Lives, StreamYards, all kinds of fun things that also are your own publicity. So, that to me, it's like a plethora and it's raining PR. And as far as opportunities for all who are listening.
Well, and that gets back to something else that you've developed or you coined or you champion, and that's radical influence. And one of the things is like I talked about earlier, data and information, it's skyrocketed tremendously. And people like me and other entrepreneurs and business owners, we are really looking for a competitive edge, to be seen first or to be seen better or to be seen bigger or create a footprint that matters where we can get that message out. But when it comes to radical influence to the layperson, what does that mean in your terms?
What it means in my terms is exactly what you were just talking about: being seen, being heard, being thought of when somebody says the word, networking in your case, or publicity in my case, or whatever your words are, leadership and coaching and different kinds of words. So it's about having that. The thing for me about publicity is I like to call it the 3 M's. And that's the power to magnetize you, to monetize you, and to multiply you. And so with that, the amplification that happens is what people will remember. And wow, how about that power?
And it's very powerful, and it reminds me of the time. I still remember when I first got into the event space, and I was talking with Sharon Lecter, and I was able to introduce her in front of the audience that we had. And I still remember saying 6-time internationally best-selling author Sharon, and she looks at me, and then she looks at the audience. She goes, 17, you know, and I really, you know, and I remember, and Jill, I was just getting into this, and I barely knew you then, so I didn't have, you know, I didn't have the Jill Lublin tool in my pocket yet, but I was fearless, and I remember I had Laurel Lanemeyer on one side, and I had Sharon Lecter on the other side. My lovely wife is across from me, and I go to Jill. I don't mean to be ignorant, but does it really matter between 16 and 17? And she looked at me and she goes, yes. And she goes,
Yes.
it's like the difference of between having 16 or 17 children. And she further said, you know, the reason why most entrepreneurs fail is they don't know the numbers. In marketing, publicity, and promotion, that's about numbers as well, isn't it?
Of course it is. And by the way, I hope you got your picture with all of the above. And, you know,
Yes.
for all of you who are in, shall we say, proximity of somebody who's famous, always make sure to get your photo taken. And that's really important. And yes, the numbers matter. But here's the thing. And I learned this from Mark Victor Hansen, Chicken Soup for the Soul, who actually hired me to support him for messaging on one of his books. And so here's the thing that he taught me that I think is brilliant. You always say yes to everything, no matter how small or how big, because the reality is it's not for you to measure. The impact you have is the person at the other end going, I choose you, I want to work with you. And that contract can be really big, like the woman in Wisconsin, small town paper. Many people might have discounted that. And she's like, hey, that made me $5,000. I see how powerful publicity is. And by the way, that was just one client. There was more. So the truth is that you can connect the ROI with what is your return, but also you want to also, there's like intangibles, right? The I've heard of you somewhere syndrome, the power of your talent being escalated and people thinking of you in a whole different way. It's a perception issue. The trust factor,
Yeah.
all of that is key.
I agree. You know, Jill, I can't believe we blew through this segment so fast. We have so much more to talk about, and we're gonna come back and keep having this dialogue, this conversation open. I have some information scrolling across the screen right now. Jill Lublin, international speaker, consultant, best-selling author 4 times. She can be found at jilllublin.com. You know, Jill, what are other ways that people can find you out there?
Oh, all the social media is great. JillLublin.com is a perfect place. You'll find my wonderful free gift for you. Check it out, and more opportunities to get your publicity out there because, my friends, your message matters. Your message matters. It's time. Let's go. Let's
And,
make
and,
some
and
news.
Yeah, and don't you have some type of magical rock star publicity event that comes up every once in a while? It's kind of like a crash course, isn't it?
I do. And I have a wonderful publicity breakthrough boot camp. It's super fun and a virtual publicity course. Yes, 2 great events, and now they're tying together.
Well, Jill, thank you so much for being on the show today. You are a delight each and every time, and I always learn something. I'm looking at my notes. I'm always writing down something. Make it a great week. Let's not be strangers to each other, and let's do this again sometime.
Thank you, Robert.
Have a great day.
Network together. It's all about connections. Expand your sphere of influence. Build relationships. Be part of something bigger. Be part of Network Together.
Oh my gosh, how great was that? I was just on with Jill Lublin, international speaker, radical influencer, consultant, best-selling author, 4 times, 4 great, wonderful books. You know, I always, like I said, I look at my notes and I'm always writing down something. And she always gives me some type of tidbits that I can take away. And I hope you are able to take away some tidbits too. I'm really excited. I have my next guest in our next segment. We have Char McCreadie. Char, how are you?
I'm doing great, Robert. How are you?
Oh, I am doing fine. I mean, you're on the show. I'm finer than Carolina now that you're on the show. Let me tell you, this is an exciting thing. You know, Char, I just want to say, you know, I'm going to give you a love, okay? One thing that I found with you and my lovely wife Sean has is you you are such a, I got goosebumps saying this, you are such a wonderful supporter of who we are and what we do. You know, it is noticed. You know, for as busy as your schedule is, you know, you're owner and founder of Fly with Char and you know, Warrior Women Worldwide, you know, and you do speaking and you do some traveling, you do some coach, you know, you do a lot of different things, but you still take time, you know, to just reach out to us and just either edify us, you know, give us some thanks, or just help us, you know, get people aware of who we are. And I really want to say thank you for that. I'm very grateful that you do that, you know. But I want to talk about something that, you know, we talked a little bit in kind of like our green room before the show started. And and we also have this women's event coming up, and you know, men certainly can come as well, that who want to support, you know, women and, you know, their growth in this entrepreneurial and business space. But there are still a lot of people out there, Shar, that we needed to save, aren't there?
Oh, plenty, including myself. I need help sometimes.
You know, and that's why, you know, one of the things that I found, I've always said, you know, if you want to accelerate your life, is change the information that you consume, you know, change the people that you're with, and, you know, seek inspiration for your soul. If you do those three things, you can accelerate your life plan, you know, in addition to your business plan. But, you know, why are so many people, Sharp, right now? I mean, women, men, children, even the ages, why are so many people feeling that weight of being insignificant? You know, is it because we compare ourselves too much to the outside, or we just don't know, you know, how to handle, you know, this crazy event of COVID and other things over the last almost 3 years? Do you have any idea why?
Well, that is an incredibly loaded, great question for sure. I think there's so many individual facets that make up that umbrella that people are holding, and the weight of that umbrella has just gotten so big. Whether it's just the natural maturation process for our children, and their whole school experience was interrupted, and kids cannot be so nice to each other as they're going through the different phases of life, to okay, how do I live now? And the online school, parents working from home, trying to figure out the dynamic of everybody being at home, and life looking different, and maybe careers changed or lost because of what's going on. And we just don't have what I call the toolbox to really uphold who we are in our organic divine self, without all of these influences that, frankly, I think most of them are not very positive at all.
Yeah, yeah, you know, and oh my gosh, you know, that is definitely something I really wanted to get into, because you know, I do feel like, you know, here's the thing. It's like, you know, we were all in the space of being able to touch and to hug and to be a part of, and to go out and, you know, have this sense of freedom, and all of a sudden it was taken away. And
Yep.
part of my thinking is, you know, we started maybe becoming a little introspective. We started coming to be a little bit, you know, inside ourselves, and, you know, we stopped doing the social things. And, you know, then all of a sudden now we're back into this new world again, and we see that things are changed, and it seems like there's a little bit of self-doubt that has crept back into a lot of people's lives, you
A
know,
little
maybe even a lot of
a
it,
lot.
you know, yeah, so you've seen that as well. You know, what are some of the things when you work with people, you know, what are some of the things that, you know, you try to help them, you know, overcome themselves sometimes, don't you?
Most of the time, actually, that is
Okay.
exactly it, Robert. Is we, and the story right up here, are our own worst critic. And then that gets either magnified, exemplified, pounded in more by that which we're taking in from the outside. And it can be a number of sources, whether it's I call the TV the electronic income reducer. If you have one of those, or maybe the media you're consuming online, or people that you are around, if you're not back in your traditional workspace, or you haven't found your tribe yet. And so it is really about overcoming ourselves and what we're saying up here, and recognizing that we all have a journey. We all
Yeah.
have peaks and valleys in our journey, and we must stay the course, because your gifting, Robert, may not be my gifting. And if, as long as I continue to show up and you continue to show up, now we have two sets of gifts coming together, that maybe we can do something powerful together.
You know, and that reminds me, you know, what you're saying is, you know, I have this theory that all people, they're born with their gifts. They don't have to find them, but what they have to do is they need to build a pathway to be able to best utilize those gifts. And some of the things I was thinking, I think, you know, I think, maybe this past 2.5, 3 years, a lot of people were put into a pause that was thrust upon them,
Oh,
and
yes.
some took it and they owned a different greatness. It was like, oh my goodness, I don't need to be doing what I did before. And then there's others who like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can do what I did before, but here's that feeling again. I still haven't found, what I can do with my gifts. And I think there's a lot of people that stopped in that pause and they're still kind of saying, okay, how do I get retracked, so to speak, and retooled? That's a place that you can really help people, isn't it?
It is. And I focus really because I believe that health from the inside out is where the wealth is. If we don't
Hmm.
have this physical body in a healthy space, mind, body, spirit, and soul, it really doesn't matter so much out here because eventually you're not going to be able to do the things
Yeah.
that you want to do, desire to do, your gifting, when I kind of equate it to being a kid playing in the sandbox. Our gifts are there. We just have to keep digging, we got
Oh
to
my goodness. Yeah.
uncover them and then let them come out and, and shine and go with us as
you
we
know,
rock
and,
and roll through this life.
and you have to make time, for that, and a lot of time, and the other thing that we talked about before the green room is too is like I do see this. I mean, we all, well, I mean, maybe there's 2% that don't, but 98% of us really do want acceptance. We really do want to belong. We really want to feel valued, and I think sometimes, when changes occur, sometimes we look at maybe what community we're in. We're like, well, maybe I'm not in the right community anymore, and then all of a sudden they start searching, but then all of a sudden, some people, they start getting, they get overwhelmed because then all of a sudden all these opinions come in, and then all of a sudden they get lost in the chatter, and then all of a sudden they almost have to overcome all these opinions, and then all of a sudden it's like they get, what is it, analysis to paralysis. How strong can opinions outside of a person be, that maybe keep someone from being their best self?
Wow. Another great loaded question you ask. You've got them all loaded up for me today, Robert.
Only the best. Only the best.
Well, I've been blessed to have many amazing mentors in my life from the time I started in a young life into the military and into business. And I think the biggest thing on this topic that I've taken away from myself is that I really work to live for an audience of one, and that's my
Hmm.
creator. Because really, at the end of the day, what all of you in TV land, as a friend calls it, think of me really is not my business. I need to be accountable and accountable this way. And my journey and path may not be yours, and that's okay, which would create someone else's opinion about me. So as long as I live for an audience of one, then I'm good. However, we're all human. We have a heart, we have feelings, and it does hurt. Especially maybe we've got a picture of a person who we thought one thing
Hmm.
about, and we find out that represented us negatively, said something not so kind, maybe has a different opinion than what we thought, and that hurts. And so having a toolbox around that so that it doesn't take you out when those things happen, because they're going to. You're not going to resonate with everyone. Each of us in business is not for everyone. We're for only our ideal customer.
And that reminds me, I mean, really building a toolkit is fundamental on, again, creating that pathway, and because I see so much of the times, especially with women entrepreneurs, you know many times they don't allow themselves to really have true self-care. That point and that interruption and that breaking. One of the things that I like to say is even a car, has a tune-up after 30,000 miles. I mean, but we as people, I mean, really, we as people
True.
sometimes in women, it's just like, we could go on 15 years and it's like without a pause. And it's like, how can you be the best version of yourself if you don't take time to kind of tune yourself, right? I don't know.
Absolutely.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, not at all. So this
It's-
is, if I may, right here, this is actually my big thing.
Mhm.
I've had some pretty incredible health journeys, and just let it be known that 20
Mhm.
and 1/2 months ago, I clinically died from a brain tumor that I didn't know I had right here
Oh
in
man.
Scottsdale, Arizona. And I'm not standing here today because I continued to push through. There was a lot of self-care that had to happen in that area, as well as in my past journeys. And so, this is one of my favorite mugs, and it's got my logo on it, and my warrior power, but it's pretty big inside. Right now it's empty.
Yeah.
And if I do nothing to fill it back up to the brim and hopefully flowing over, I really don't have anything to even give to you if I were to show up empty right now in this moment, or to an event, or to my family. So self-care, and because my background professionally is medicine, I come first. I do things weekly. They're on
Yeah.
my calendar, just like this appointment today is on my calendar, so that I can be as absolutely healthy inside and out to go do the things I'm supposed to do to help the people I'm supposed to help.
It reminds me of something my dad told me, when I was young, and it seems like as I keep getting older, he keeps getting smarter, and
Right.
and one of the and one of the things that he told me is he said, um, you know, be selfless to others, but be selfish for yourself.
Oh, that's
You know,
brilliant.
and I really never, and I never really understood what that meant. But what it really meant is, if you are using your gifts, they'll never be exhausted. But that doesn't mean you won't be exhausted.
Right.
And he says that selfishness is you have to be aware and in tune with yourself to know when to put the brakes on and utilize that self-care. And I mean, sure, it's taken me almost a lifetime, it seems like, for me to figure out what his words meant. But in this time frame, I understand it. Selfish, you know, with your care, and selfless with your gifts. And part of what you do is you train women to be, a warriors, in a certain
Mhm.
respect. What does a warrior woman look like?
Well, you're looking at one. I've got the
Yes.
other one behind me, right? Uh,
Yeah.
it
Mhm.
really is. I just believe that every one of us is built and born with a divine warrior on the inside. What I have found in all of my many decades in medicine, and now in my third decade of entrepreneurship, is that most of us never find the tools or the coaching or the right space to
Mhm.
learn what it is to allow that warrior part of us to come live full time on the outside and be part of our self leadership. And so I have a toolbox full of power tools that I work with people, teaching them. And like I said, I start from the inside, health from the inside out, and help people put those tools in place for themselves so that what they're after actually will come into their physical space and experience the ultimate life every day of their life.
And one question I want to have, with that is, like, when you're talking about, a toolbox, we're not talking necessarily a hammer or a saw or a measuring tape. I mean, we're talking about the importance of just showing up. We're talking about the importance of doing things you've never done. We're talking about the importance of, learning things, for the betterment of self. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I mean, some of my three key power tools that I love are always about the power of decision,
Hmm.
right? The power of persistence, and the power of muscle building. And I don't just mean in the gym. Fitness is a part
Right.
of it, But that, what you just said, when you continue to show up, you're building your courage muscle, you're building your stamina muscle, you're building those muscles in business and entrepreneurship and living life that will sustain you for the long haul. And you got to have some muscles in the gym too, so that your physical body can withstand all of the activity that is required.
Oh, believe me, I remember Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and it's like, right there at the bottom, at the base, the foundation is that physical self. And I know firsthand, my physical self has taken a few hits in the last year, and I tell you what, it's hard to keep, going up that pyramid when that physical self is damaged.
Yep.
One other question, before we finalize our segment is, when it comes to to women, or even men, entrepreneurs in general, what is the importance of building a tribe? Why in
Mm.
many ways is that important for us as entrepreneurs or business owners, or just even people who work in the workplace? Why is that so important?
Well, to be around folks that are like-minded is how we grow, right? I was always taught never be the smartest one in the room. Be part of the tribe, because we have to grow here too, right? And the way that we do that is being around people that outthink us, or that have done things that we haven't done yet, and maybe we need to learn to do. But also, you mentioned it earlier, we need to be validated. We need our cheering corner, right? That is going to be our rah-rah corner and remind us that, yes, you can do it. Keep going. It might be hard right now, but when you come back up to that peak, you're going to be able to lead other people. Maybe you're in a valley, you're going to grow your leadership there, so that the people, when you get to the peak, will be able to be helped by what you've learned. And so we all need that tribe. And that's one of the reasons I love you and Sean, because you provide a
Thank you.
space for all of us to do that, and also not to settle. You don't let us get comfortable, and you allow us to come and to be celebrated and to do great things like work on projects with you, or speak. And I'm going to talk a lot more about that at the women's event during my segment there. So I hope to see many of you on July 28th at the great event that Robert talked about.
Yeah, I'm so excited for you, Shar, in that, and I'm excited for the people in there. I've been, of course, I've worked every women's event that we have, and it really is amazing. They talk about IQ, and then there's also EQ, and to see the strength of emotions and the entrainment that it creates when people are really, fly with Shar, right?
Yes.
Flying in that same space. It's like something, there are some things that you can hear, and there are some things that you can see, but every once in a while it's like you can hear it, you can see it, but you can feel it. And to me, that's just like the trifecta of change and movement. It really moves people to act. And that's what I love about you, Shar, is you help women, you help men, you help Sean and I. We notice you get us to keep acting. You're the person that says every sacrifice that Sean and I do in our world, you you make it worth it. Because not everyone just wants to walk through that doorway. And it's nice when when we walk through the doorway, there's other people doing it with us. Because at the end of the day, for me, success isn't a lonely place.
Yeah.
Success is the party with your best friends.
Yes, it's a team sport, folks. And if we do it as a team, guess what? People win. That's the part of the
Yeah.
military I loved the best. And I just want more
Mm,
people to really get that. And you have to get it in all three senses, like you just said. We're heart-centered beings. We have to be able to
absolutely.
connect, and not just online. There's a different part of our neurocenters that is used when we're face to face. And man, we can be unstoppable when we work together. That
Oh,
fires me up.
absolutely. Well, while you're fired up, Char McCreadie, owner and founder of Fly with Char and Warrior Woman Worldwide. That's www. Look at the three
Yeah,
W's.
baby.
She can be reached at her telephone number there, or at Char at flywithchar.com. Char, how else can we find you out there? What are some other ways? And do you have any events or anything coming up in the near future?
Sure. Yeah, I'm on all the socials, LinkedIn, Insta, Facebook as well. And I do have a free gift. I'm going to drop a link in there. It didn't quite get uploaded to
Okay.
my website in time. And then July 28th, I will absolutely be at the women's event in Gilbert, Arizona that Sean is hosting, Sean and Robert. So I'll be speaking there and doing a great workshop with my new friend, Lisa. So especially lady entrepreneurs, you can get here or in the area, come out and see us, and would love to book one-on-one discovery calls with folks as well.
Well, Char, thank you so much for being on the show today. 16 minutes does not go that fast in any other form or fashion, does it?
True.
Thank you so much. And like I said with Jill, let's not be strangers. Let's do this again sometime. And certainly, let's just rock it. Let's bring the event center down on July 28th. I can't wait to see you there.
I'll look forward to it. Thank you for having me today, Robert.
Thank you.
Network together. It's all about connections. Expand your sphere of influence. Build relationships. Be part of something bigger. Be part of Network Together.
All right, one of our new promo pieces for the iNetrepreneur Network. I hope everyone gives it a thumbs up because I think it's really magnificent, and seeing a little bit about who we are in a video commercial format. Was Char great or what? I'm so glad she was able to get on the show. She's busy. She goes here, there, and everywhere, but today she chose to do her here, there, and everywhere with us. Our next guest is going to be coming on, and that is Kimberly Humphreys of Heartjoy. Kimberly, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, Robert. It's so good to be here with you.
Well, it is great to be here with you, and it's always kind of interesting, when you have three superstars coming on to a show. You are a rock star, superstar as well, and you get to, hear a little bit about Jill. You get to hear a little bit about Char, and you can hear their perspectives. And I'm sure you probably got to learn a few things that you might not have known about them before.
I did. It was wonderful. I'm looking much forward to being in the arena with them and spending time for the women's conference. Very
Absolutely.
excited.
Again, I'm with Kimberly Humphreys. She's an emotional healing coach and the founder of Heartjoy Transformation. And, what a great name, Transformation, because our third book in the Art of Connection is actually called 365 Days of Transformational Quotes. So, I am sure you have some great transformation stories to talk about, in your own life. Kimberly, we've actually known I've probably known you longer, and I've known Jill a long time. And, now Char's coming into years as well. But you and I probably go back 7 or 8 years at this point, don't we?
10.
10. Okay. Wow. Time is gone. Wow. Then time's going a lot faster than I thought. And it's really nice. I always say, the nicest thing about relationships is when they, span the test of time is, it also gives you great perspective. And, you and I have, for the longest of time, it's like our gift is we always want to share, we always want to serve, we always want to connect others, and we always want to leave everyone that we're with, just a little bit better than the moment before, and I knew that when I first saw you, and then, we lost touch, and it was amazing when, you came back into, I will say my life, and it was just like, oh my goodness, that is like Kimberly, but it's Kimberly Humphreys 10 times. And like so much has gone on in the last 10 years, hasn't it, Kimberly?
It has. It truly has. Yes, a lot.
But but one of the things that, we talked about in the green room before we started the show is, and I want to have an understanding of it, and I'm sure our audience has as well, is what you call yourself, and what your gifts are, is you're an emotional healing coach. And that is
Yeah.
not something that I've heard that often. Tell a layperson like me what an emotional healing coach is and what they do.
Thank you for this opportunity to give that explanation. I actually stumbled into this, but have gone through what I went through my own personal emotional healing transformation. And as I began working with clients for nutritional help, I found that they had painful emotions that needed to be healed as well, to be able to just love themselves, accept themselves enough to want to eat right, to want to do what's best for them. And so, as an emotional healing coach, I help people, I actually coach them through the healing process of painful emotions. And how that has evolved is I also help them get the purpose for those painful experiences that happen in this lifetime and before. And I find that actually dissolves the pain, and it transforms that pain into self-love and appreciation.
Well,
And
I just
that's
find,
the purpose.
yeah, I just find it really interesting, though. I'm because when I think about it, in many ways, it seems like people overall, they tend to kind of clean on to the pain, sometimes more than they clean on to the joy. And I never really fully understand that. And it's like, you know, and then you grow through life, and if you keep tallying up, the storage of painful emotions, they start to overwhelm everything else in your life. Why is it so easy for people to get trapped within their own pain?
There are a myriad of reasons. One is it becomes their identity. They get attention, they get empathy, they feel love because of that, because other people might identify with them because of misery loves company, so to speak.
Right.
Uh, and so it becomes a familiar feeling, really, of comfort zone.
But if they're deriving it from a negative space of their own self, isn't the love somewhat of a false love?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a false love. It is a delusion, and it does not serve them. And that is the work that I do to help them to realize that, and also to just be able to transform the relationship with that pain to where it actually does serve them, and it's not a pity party or a sad story. It's a victorious story and an understanding, and actually it dissolves the pain, so there's no pain to complain about.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to me because, one of the things that I feel like when it comes to painful pain, it's stored. And sometimes pain can be stored for so long, many times a person doesn't even remember the original emotional intake of that pain. So I'm sure when you're speaking with people, they may not consciously remember it, they may not be able to dip back into that hard drive, so to speak, but I'm sure, as you're working with them, sometimes it gets extracted out of them, and they probably go to you, Kimberly, and said, "Gus, I never knew that hurt me in that manner." I mean, is that something that happens as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It happens more than you think. It happens more than people can even imagine or realize. Things that they had either no idea that it happened, completely forgot, deeply buried, um, just out of sight, out of mind. And sometimes I have tools to actually find those things,
Right.
because they still affect them. And sometimes they're the root cause of physical ailments, physical illnesses.
Oh, and I think that that's so important when it comes to business owners and entrepreneurs. If they're carrying, I call it the weight of blankets. It's almost like someone's walking out, into the world, and they have, 100 blankets on them. If you're able to start taking these blankets away, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and all of a sudden they get better movement, and they can breathe better, and they can extend themselves better, and whatnot. I mean, it helps them as an entrepreneur or business owner as well. And I can see you really truly helping a lot of people that way. But there is something else that I think that is pretty amazing. And we were talking to this one gentleman today, and he says, my two kids, they're so different. And one became a doctor and one became a principal. And it was like my daughter, who became a doctor, she was so detailed, and was so she had a regimen. And my son, he was so, he wasn't very detailed, he wasn't very regimented. But they picked life paths that mattered for them, and it worked well. And so the gentleman, was able to identify with kids in going through things, because that was his personality, and her gift was, being able to work in the medical field. you know as an emotional healing coach, Kimberly, you've gone through some pain yourself in your life, haven't you?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yes. In fact, I believe that all of the pain that I have been through and am, still healing, was for the purpose of the work that I'm doing, so that I could relate to people and just be able to help them heal their pain, and just create a sacred space for that, and have an understanding and appreciation.
For someone like me, what is a sacred space? What does that look like?
Confidentiality. No one's going to
Mhm.
know what you have been going through. No one's going to hear it from me. Non-judgmental. There's no judgment. I will not even allow you to judge yourself.
Mm.
So you can do no wrong. There's nothing that you can do in this space that's going to be wrong. It just is.
I
Unconditional acceptance.
Yeah, I think, and Shar and I were talking about this earlier, and even Jill a little bit. It's like, you know, sometimes the hardest place to accept is yourself. And I think if you can't accept yourself, you really have no way to accept anything else in your life, because you have no foundation of accepting that someone loves you, or accepting that you've had some success, or accepting that, hey, you're a good parent, or accepting, I see, without acceptance, we toil with certain self-defeating thoughts, and we, and head trash, and and second guessing ourselves. And like Shar said, she helps people become decisive, and people who are struggling in that head space and that heart space. Truly, it's almost like, inflammation of the heart, isn't it?
Oh, yes, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head, actually. These are the very things that people struggle with, and these are the very things that I help them to overcome.
Wow.
In a loving space, that's another part of that. The safe space is, it's a loving, it's a place where love is cultivated in the
But
person, self-love, unconditional self-acceptance.
but in many ways, the world, if you were to drink all that Kool-Aid, the world itself is becoming a more hostile space. You see the big cities, and you see the crime, and you see the violence, and you see the wars, and you see the famine, and you see, so many more things. I mean, to me, it's like, you know, is that real in a person's life? Or, you know, is it affecting people on kind of like a broader spectrum, or is it just an illusion, that your clients need to separate themselves from so they can create a space to create something bigger for themselves? How do you work with them when they probably cling to all this stuff and they bring it in and they take the world's weight and they make it their own weight, and all of a sudden they have no more space for themselves? I'm sure there's a lot of clients that do that as well.
Yes, I help them to recognize what's them and what's not them.
Mm-hmm.
And what is them, they are empowered to change it if it's not working for them, if it's not serving them. They are empowered to change it, and that's the work that we do. Also, those things that are not them, they have no power over it, so you don't have to try to change it. But you can't accept it. You do have to accept it, that it is what it is. And something else that people need to understand, yes, there's a lot of chaos and unpleasant things going on. But everything has a vibration, everything. And love has the most powerful, highest vibration. And for every one person, I learned this from, I believe it was Dr. David Hawkins, for every one person that has a loving vibration, which it vibrates at, I forget where it is, 1,000. It covers 10,000 people at the low vibration.
Oh my goodness, that is amazing. Another thing that I want to talk about, because I do believe that in life, look for the return on energy even more than a return on investment. But another word that I really want to bring out that I hear again and again and again, it's like replacing authentic. I remember for like 2 years, everyone wanted to be authentic. Now we're coming into the space of everyone needs to be mindful, or we talk about mindfulness. And one of the things when everyone wraps around it, it starts to get diluted. When it comes to your clients, do you teach and help them practice mindfulness as a part of, let's say, an emotional recovery?
As you were saying that, and I was thinking about what I do and what I teach my clients, and mindfulness is in there, but it's not at the top. The top is unconditional self-acceptance. Because, as you even said, when we unconditionally accept ourselves, now we can unconditionally, as much as we unconditionally accept ourselves, we can unconditionally accept others. Situations, circumstances, and conditions. And I do teach this, that what we see in the world in situations, circumstances, and conditions is, what we see that speaks to us, that either we get angry about, or we love, or we connect with it. That is a reflection of something in us. If we love it, then we can appreciate it. That's a part of us. We have that in us too. If we have a problem with it, we can resolve that problem inside as well. So that is truly empowering. And so it's unconditional self-acceptance, because that just covers everything.
Oh, thank you so much. I truly am writing all this down, Kimberly. You got notes here for me. I'm writing them all down. Pages of notes. Well, Kimberly, we are at the end of the show. I want to make sure that people are able to find you. You're Kimberly Humphreys, an emotional healing coach and the founder of Heart Joy Transformation. You can be reached at 602-688-2632 or at Kimberly@heartjoytoday.com. And I love that. It's just like, do it now. Find that heart and let it blossom and glow, right? Are there any other ways that people can find you, Kimberly?
Just come to the Professional Women's Conference, July 28th, 9 to 5. It's going to be amazing, and everyone there is going to be glad that they've attended, because they're going to come one way and leave another, and that other is going to be much better.
Yeah, and that's what we want. We want you to come into the event. If you come in as a 9, you're going to go out of 10. If you come in as a 3, you're going to go out as a 10. That's what we're looking for, right?
Right, that's right.
My goodness. Kimberly, thank you so much for being on the show today. I appreciate getting to talk to you. And, I felt like boy, today was the three amigos for me. You know, three powerful women with three powerful messages, you know, creating, you know, three levels of powerful impact. I mean, what guy couldn't love that? So thank you again for being on the show today, and have a great week.
Yes, you as well. Bye all.
All right, so I was with three incredible rock stars: Jill Lublin, the influencer, international speaker, consultant, best-selling author; Char McCreadie, you know, founder of Warrior Women Worldwide and Fly Far with Char. See, got my wings on. And of course, you know, last segment was Kimberly Humphreys, an emotional healing coach. I hope everyone got to find what that means, and, you know, hopefully that resonates with you. Remember, we are here each and every week from 2:30 to 3:30. Arizona time, which is right now on California time, because we're that crazy maverick state that says, no, heck no, we're not going to do this daylight savings time. We're going to do our own thing. And that's what I really love about this state. Everyone have a great week until we see you next time.
You've been watching the iNetrepreneur Show, a production of the iNetrepreneur Radio Network with host Robert W. Jones. Join Robert each week as he visits with new and exciting guests who inspire, teach, and mentor entrepreneurs worldwide. Follow Robert each Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, and 8:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time.